Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose, and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life. I believe it's important for each and every one of us to be open to new possibility, open to things in our lives that we may not have ever thought about, that we definitely weren't taught about. And because that we weren't taught about it or we haven't heard about it in the past, we may tend to, shall we say, ignore it or glance over it. There's so much available to us in this universe and so many different truths. And the fact that we get to choose our truths as we move forward in supporting ourselves and living the life that we're meant to live and truly uncovering all the possibilities for us. When we tap in, when we listen to our experiences, when we listen to who we are, when we listen to the guidance that comes our way intuitively or through the words that we hear or pictures that we see, we are truly opening ourselves up to be empowered to take all the magnificence of the universe out into our day-to-day lives. Today, we're going to talk about that in a way that may open up new possibilities to you. So come from the beginner's mind. Come from a place of, I am willing to listen, and then I can choose if this empowers me or if I want to leave it go. I'm with Lisa Griffin today, and Lisa is an intuitive empath who finds her joy in helping others heal their wounds and find their best life. She has developed through decades of research and her own practice a process to help people identify the source of their trauma, assist them with clearing their wounds, and helping them find their place in this crazy journey we call life. Lisa is passionate about metaphysics, the shamanic healing journey, world religions, and world history, which she has studied for the past 20 years, building on her Bachelor of Arts in psychology. She has chosen to work with adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. This profession has assisted her to understand the complex nature of human beings and to understand that we are all both the student and the teacher simultaneously. Lisa Griffin, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
I am, Vince. I cannot wait.
Me too. I was so excited when I saw that you were interested in being on the podcast. It's been just a little over a year ago since we met, and we had a connection right away. And I can't wait to share more of that connection with the imagination. But at first, I'd like to give them an opportunity to know you a little bit more. And beyond the intro, what are you doing, and what difference are you here to make in the world?
Well, that's a great question. I believe that my mission is to help individual people and groups of people ascend, so become more aware of themselves and to help people reconnect to source, which I feel like a lot of what I see in the world, a lot of the lower vibration things that we see playing out, really is what it looks like when we are disconnected from source. And so I like to lead people through the process of reconnecting to source through any means necessary. So, which has required me to build up a tool bag, if you will, my bag of tricks. So the last, several years has been what is going to be my bag of tricks, right? In order to help people come to a place of integration and reconnection with Creator.
It's very much, as you know, what we share at Imagine Miracles. We kind of do it in the backdoor way. We help people step into their unique purpose, but in the process, they learn how to connect to Source in their own way, kind of channel their guidance in through them, very much like you're sharing. And it's very interesting to me because there's obviously a great story behind all of this for you, and your love to research and your love to learn and to build that toolbox is very, very impressive. But before we delve into the toolbox, share with the audience um, what wake up calls, what I think you called them signposts when we were talking a little bit earlier. What signpost in your life really opened you up to step into the shamanic world, into the world of Source, as deep as you have?
Okay, so this, like I think it does for many healers in training, it hit me on pretty much every level of my existence. So that is existential crises. That is my physical health. Um, that was what was my job. What was my marriage about? What was that foundation? Basically, in order to wake me up, and I think we had some pretty stark awakening stories. In order to wake me up, what did it take? And it took for me calling into question everything. My physical comfort, my physical health. Uh, you know, did I enjoy what I was doing on a daily basis? How was I thinking? What was my self dialogue? Um, the existential questions like, what is it? What is I, and what is we, and what is source, and what does it mean to be alive, right? And so it was, and what is our history? What is our current Earth history? What is the truth there? And then also, what is truth? So, and you could go down this rabbit hole forever. And so for me, the way that played out was, okay, so what's going on with my physical body? My physical body, I was continuing to get into car accident after car accident, to the point where I continue to be the butt of jokes of my friends and my family, because whenever there's a car accident, somebody said, they say, well, somebody just pulled a Lisa. So, I mean, it was many of those, right? And what I noticed just in car accidents, why was I always breaking or hurting my feet and my hands? You know, and questions like that would come up. Uh, I had a I have a spiritual mentor as a medicine woman, profound teacher, and I was speaking with her one day, and I somehow made the connection, and my little pea brain was like, I keep seeing what's going on with my hands and my feet, my hands and my feet. And she was a beautiful mirror, so she just looked at me and said, maybe you should go figure that out. And and then I was kind of off to the races. Well, why do we have chronic pain in hands and feet or chronic injury? Why do people experience that? Well, then Louise Hay comes into the picture, as we all know Hay House and all of her amazing insights and writings. And one, it builds, and like many people, it's the book falls off the bookshelf, the article comes to and you do your research, and we do have to put these things together, you know, and make the connections. And car accidents were one thing, and this went on for several years until I was fully getting it. And then it was like, okay, well, I have digestive issues, like many Americans, like the majority of Americans have some digestive issue, and I was in that number. I didn't know at the time I had leaky gut, because that's really wasn't discussed many, many years ago. Allopathic medicine was not going to talk to you about leaky gut. So searching, kind of like with a flashlight in the dark, trying to find, why can't I digest my food and really well? And why do I keep losing food groups? And how come I have chronic candida? And what does all this mean? And why aren't there any like traditional doctors that can tell me what's going on? So again, let's go do the research and try to understand um, all the things about our food and our food sources, and what might be wrong or right about them, and what should we be eating, and what are these wounds that come in, and all of these physical questions about the digestive process in our life. And this goes on for years, right? And I think at that time, when, between the car accidents and the leaky gut, I started to understand, um, there's multi dimensions of things that we need to look at. We need to look at things multidimensionally, or I did. I was asked to do that. And then when the question came in around diet, it begged the question around body image, which brings us to the feminine, to the divine feminine, and what is that? And I was being asked to look multidimensionally at what, and multi generationally, so ancestrally. What can I learn about having leaky gut and losing food groups, so then losing weight, but then maybe gaining weight, but then not feeling good? And what is the body image? And can we connect the dots? And so that was multi-years of going into meditation and talking to my body and talking to my candida yeast overgrowth and giving it personification to give it a voice, and shooting it out through my feet and talking to Mother Gaia, who is an amazing healer for us, and having Gaia bring to me energetically healing, and this conversation with Gaia, this conversation with the sun, this conversation with all of our planets that are around us, to bring in healing, to bring in insight, right? So it was for each car accident, for each round of candida, for each life altering event, like a divorce or a childbirth that we all pretty much go through. What were all the layers? How was this? What did this mean extra dimensionally? What can I glean from this that is absolutely not just the 3D of this? What is the rest of the story? And how does this affect my entire bloodline? And also, then, where did I come from? So you can see how you just went down a rabbit hole, and it all ended up being really deep existential questions, which I would say I am still trying to answer, because I think that's the point of being alive, is we're still trying to figure these things out and get more and more insight into these questions.
Exactly. And as you expand, as you grow, as you raise your vibration, you give yourself access to the next layer, and to more information and more opportunity to research. And thank God that you have a gift and talent of being a researcher, and the desire to want to learn and uncover. And as you said, as you uncover the multidimensionality of our universe, the multidimensionality of each and every one of us comes into effect, and it's really bringing those dimensions together, just like it's bringing all of us together in understanding the energetic effects. You've shared some amazing information. Let me ask you this: which one was the most difficult for you to move beyond, let's just say, the rules of society for you to follow up with or to study?
There's probably not one. I would say the journey around healing the gut and digestion issues were very challenging in their own way, um, because a lot of these answers have not laid in anything that we see as our foundation. So it's not an allopathic medicine for me. For some, it might be.
Mhm.
Um, so many of those, so many of the rabbit holes that I went down trying to understand why I couldn't eat the food. Um, so many of those answers were just purely almost metaphysical for me, and laid way far outside of norm, if you will,
Mhm.
very much, because it was, now I have to consider the frequency and vibration of the animal that I just ate, or wanted to eat and couldn't. I had to consider what was the source of the vegetable that was turning my stomach. Was it because is there something wrong with the seed? Was there something wrong with the water? And when you start uncovering those things, from my journey, getting my answers around those things, that showed me, it satisfied me, it doesn't satisfy everyone, that there certainly are other things that are happening extra dimensionally, and there's certain other things that are happening on the planet in the physical plane.
Mhm.
And some of those things really aren't in humanity's best interest, as I'm sure your viewers are well aware. And it brought those things to my attention. And these things were very contrary to what everyone around me was perceiving, because their foods was just fine. They could digest just fine. And they didn't have any problem with the way that things were grown or how they were used pesticides. They didn't have any issues with those things. So why did I? And if they went to their doctor was able to fix them. And so why can't mine?
Mhm.
Um, and that kind of pitted me against, to some degree, other people, where I just simply stopped talking about certain things with a lot of people, and which I think a lot of us have done, is
Mhm.
simply that this isn't safe, and
Right.
so I'm not going to discuss these things, which I feel like, and this might be so off topic to your question, but I think relevant to the energy that we're dealing with today as awakened people, is that those things that we find to be truth and really resonant in our beings have also been not safe. And so we just became quiet. And now I think we're being challenged to stop being quiet, which is why I love your mission and your podcast, because you are a voice for those of us who, it's very small niche. Yeah. And
Mhm.
you're a voice for us because we have to become more and more comfortable with speaking our truth, which in the past has gotten us maligned, etc., and it wasn't safe. And we have to just become safe and decide that we are safe and live safety, right? And make that our reality in order to reset the vibration of the planet. So that is one place that journey has brought me to, one of the conclusions that I've come to.
Yes, for sure. You know, it's interesting to me that the breadth of your study has taken you into world religions and world history. What in those discoveries have you brought to the way that you're bringing your healing to the world now?
That is a wonderful question. You know, it is relevant to me. When I do session, keep in mind our sessions can be up to 3 hours long. A lot of times people's teams have a lot to say. Their guides, source, have higher selves have quite a lot to say. And what a lot of what they talk about with people really quite directly, is helping people to give a new context to their viewpoint of what the world of what religion is, what their religion is, and their religious experience, what they think history is, and maybe what their guides want to share with them a little bit about what history maybe was, um, how world religions have interaction with each other or not. What are the commonalities? So if I am in conversation with somebody who only sees one religion, and maybe their guides want them to expand their perspective a little bit, we would be able to talk about, well, in this religion, they look at it this way, and here, and these are really quite all the same thing at the core. They might use different language, but here are the commonalities. Can you see these commonalities, and can you give respect to these? So I feel like a lot of that research has been about being able to kind of observe and assimilate that which has come before us in linear time, and to be able to pull out the pieces that the person I'm having the conversation with needs to hear at that time, so that they can have that presented to them, so that they can just broaden their context, because that is broadening of context is exactly what it is to ascend. And so I was basically told, learn these things and be able to have these conversations, hopefully in a relatable way with people, so that they can maybe start to open up their bandwidth, open up, broaden that bandwidth a little bit. And there are other people I speak with who have done the same research I have, and we're having a very higher level conversation, little, deep, the conversation about things, and they bring things to my attention, and I bring things to theirs, and we grow together. So for me, it's been a, I would say, a really important backbone for helping people to understand their context of maybe the religion of their choice, or the religion they were brought up in, and expanding worldview, which I think it's got everything to do with your frequency. Being able to accept other people, etc. Other people's views, and see their commonalities is how we unify. And right, and so this ascension process is about many things, but it's also about unity.
As you were talking, uh, the separation and duality that we're experiencing, and that we needed to experience to help us expand and grow,
Exactly.
has a lot to do with many, many different areas. But one area is religion,
Yes.
where duality, separation comes from. What are some of the commonalities? Could you share some commonalities so the audience understands what you're sharing when you're talking about these commonalities?
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest one is the one that gets talked about quite a lot, and is that no matter what religion you're talking about, as they describe God, we're all talking about the same thing. And I feel like there's songs written about this. This is not a new concept, but have you let the concept into your heart? Um, it's not the only thing, but the one that comes up first is, can we recognize that Allah is God, that source is God, that all these names, these different names that we have for God, are all the same thing. And this thing is defined in the same way and works through people's lives pretty much in the same way. Most people access that higher power through prayer and meditation in the same way. You know, um, we have all of these commonalities in truth, and yet we have a lot of confusion because, well, my religion told me that I do it this way. So your religion told you that. I'm very confused about that. I don't know what that is. And so I shy away from it because it's a very blurry for me, and it's probably wrong. So I'm not gonna try to really understand that. And plus, I think my God told me I shouldn't look, because my God says the only way to God is through my deity, is through Jesus or whoever. So I'm not going to look into that because there's probably something wrong with that, which is all of it. We see this indoctrination all over the place. So this isn't anything new. Um, and it seems like, well, this is the easiest thing to discuss. But in fact, I think this is a very, very challenging topic. I think in our circle, we know a lot of people who are no longer having that conversation. And that's one thing, but I think but for many, many other people, they are very much still having that conversation. There's a little bit more of a myopic view, right?
Right.
So a topic that comes up a lot is that topic of, can we just agree that whenever everybody talks about God, it's probably the same thing? It's that same source. Um, Also, what comes up a lot, um, because Christianity has a lot of this, but it's just really not just Christianity, is original sin. So just this concept of, this is very key to the ascension discussion, um, because it is, what and who am I? What is self? Did self come here already broken, or did self come here whole? What are we? And I think original sin suggests that we're kind of behind the eight ball. We're a little bit broken, and there's something a little bit wrong, and we're always having to make up for something. We're just not quite whole. And be able to kind of digest that concept. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe, right? But to suggest to you to think about, what would it mean if original sin really wasn't a belief you held? And what if the belief you held was that you were basically whole, and you're always connected to source, and you don't need an intermediary for source, and there's really nothing wrong with you, and that when you do what we call mistakes on this planet, all we're really doing is learning, and you're learning the things that you came here, that you chose to learn. um, a lot of a huge theme with, what is God is along with that, and does what role does original sin play? Also is, um, am I in my own power? Do I get to direct my own conversation, my own destiny, um, or have I given my power away to ideas like original sin, or other ideas like I'm not in control of who my parents are, or who my circle of friends is, and how I incarnate. Um, do I believe that? And I'm not here to change your belief, but do you believe that you only have one life, or do you believe that we reincarnate and we can play this through many different lifetimes? Which is, of course, not within the Christian, which is not in the boundaries of a Christian religion conversation. They wouldn't say, a devout Christian would not say, I have, we've had several lives and we get to do this. They wouldn't say that. I was raised in a Christian home, and it was a beautiful experience, and I wouldn't trade it. And and it gives me a lot of insight into how beautiful that religion is. And but I also do see that there are certain conversations that did not happen within that context.
Mhm.
And a lot of the conversation is, let's really take a look at original sin. Let's really take a look at, do we reincarnate? And if we do, what does that mean for ascension? What does that mean for our connection to source? And what does that mean about our own empowerment? Where do we take responsibility for our own life choices? So, is it a part of our sessions? It sure is. It sure is, because there's a lot of times a lot of curiosity that people have about their own religious beliefs, you know, and it's a huge part of that conversation. Absolutely.
One of the interesting things, and we share this at every single event that we do, every time I start a coaching client or we do an immersion weekend, we talk about coming from the place of not knowing and being open to the conversation that comes, the suggestions, the information, the possibilities, like the possibilities that you're sharing, and then for each person to, in there now, does that feel right for you? And if it feels right for you, pursue it and learn and uncover. If it doesn't feel right for you in this now, it doesn't mean it might not feel right for you in the future, or it might not feel right for you in the future. But if we can come from that place of, shall we say, the young mind, the mind that's willing to absorb and take in all possibilities, and then choose our probabilities out of those possibilities. And I want to thank you, Lisa, for sharing so many possibilities in this for people to really understand that they are much more empowered than we believe in this world as a collective whole. So I want to thank you for that. I know people are going to be interested in, you're talking about your sessions. What could you give us an example of some results from a session, or
Oh, sure.
from you working with an individual over many sessions?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. I mean, so it's important to understand that we are looking at the whole self. So we are looking at the energy body. We're looking at the chakra, all the chakras, the chakra system, all the layers of the energy field, wounding. We're looking at so many different things that happen energetically and physically to the body. And so when we move those things away, what are we left with? And what happens frequently is massive shifts from, I'm not sure what job I want. I don't even know what I want to do. Do I have a mission? A lot of confusion around these things, to moving things away so that the person can go, oh, I'm in the completely wrong job. I'm not doing my art. I'm not doing my creative endeavor. I'm not doing these things. Um, and moving things out of the past so that people can find the right employment. I've had people come in and be confused about job, and they want a baby, and they want all these things to happen in their life, and maybe their marriage should be going better. Um, I had worked with one lovely woman several years ago who was she was in that phase of like, I feel like there's just a little step with the work, and how come I'm not pregnant because we want to have a baby, and maybe communication should be a little bit better in my marriage, and so we moved things through where she was able to find much more clarity about what she wanted to do with her work and how she could uh, communicate better with her husband. And then I think I heard later within 6 or 8 months, she was pregnant and was able to bring a baby through and was absolutely thrilled. And I feel like the trajectory of her life just went, exactly where it needed to go. Um, we moved those things through actually in one session. There's other people that I work with where we have agreed, two souls, me and you have agreed to work together for a longer period of time. You are doing a very, very deep dive. It's 5, 7, 10 sessions or more. And it's several months or a year of let's get in and clear not this life, lives, all the lives, clear, let's get in and clear them out. Um, and then what moves from those sessions? Everything moves. The person's ability to see themselves clearly, their direction in life, their relationships always change. A lot of times their marriages end, sadly, right? Because you came to a very important relationship to learn something, and now you've shifted yourself through that, and now your marriage, your partner has to change with you, or you end up not with them. So those things change, which I don't want to say to dissuade people from coming, but it is a thing that happens. People's jobs change frequently because they realize that their passion lies elsewhere. Um, what I see happen for most people when we work over time is relationships change for the better because they're more able to know themselves and speak their own truth and find their healthy boundary and stop sicknesses that have been manifesting in their field. Abusive. I have a lot of people who come to me with there's been abuse for generations in the family. And, why did I have this abuse scenario when I was a child? And how come I keep playing through these abuse scenarios as an adult? And assisting them to come to the place of understanding, going back into the past lives or wherever that wound happened, healing it, helping them see where they are in the moment, integrate that, and then they can stand in front of their life and go, okay, this relationship no longer works because it's not in truth with me anymore and whatever. And so now we have people who are in healthy relationships, whether that's healthy with their families, their parents, because that's a lot of times, the trigger person, their husbands or wives, right? So we can see things moving in people's lives, shifting in this energy very quickly. Several years ago, it didn't shift as quickly as it is now. This energy, as I think all of us have noticed, everything is moving at lightning speed. It's just as fast as it's ever been. So anymore, when I have people come in, um, people shift so incredibly substantially in one session that they sit back after a week and go, I cannot believe everything that was released. That source and everybody, that the whole team allowed to be released in one session is really staggering. So we can make a lot of things happen.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. One of the things I want to pass on to Imagination here is that um, there's no mistakes or coincidences, as you've heard from me time and time again. Why are you listening to this podcast? Are you willing to open yourself up to see what other possibilities are out there? What is being shared today that resonates or is starting to resonate with you? And then follow through and dig a little bit deeper, and maybe get in contact with Lisa to learn a little bit more about what she does and how she does it. Lisa, can you share a parting piece of guidance that you think everybody should take away from this podcast?
Yeah, I feel like what the biggest favor you could do for yourself, and I know this is probably going to sound a little bit trite, is please listen to your own guidance. Please listen to your own gut. Um, your gut chakra, your heart chakra, um, this is where we feel in our body what is the right thing to do, what is the right thing to say, where is the right place to go. We have this incredible built-in guidance system that in general we are not taught about, and have a lot of confusion about what that is and when is it happening to me. And I would invite you to consider listening to your own body and being really in tune with that and getting comfortable with trusting the first thing that you feel. We like to second guess everything. And I think that's not in our best interest. Let's start trusting our guidance. And our guidance is in our body. It's innate and it's a birthright, and it's always going to be there. And paying that honor to yourself in order to help you guide your own way through life would be something that I would ask people to keep in mind.
Oh, and please, please keep that in mind. Lisa, how can people get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, and where to find you?
Okay, well, my website is exploreshamanism.com. If people want to reach out, you can do that on email. It's exploreshamanism1@gmail.com.
Excellent. All that information will be available on the show page. Just go to Lisa Griffin's show page on the miracleu.com webpage, and all that information will be available. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing today the possibilities that you've presented to the imagination. And your story has been motivating and uplifting. And I can't wait for the people to tap into what you've shared, not just in your words, but energetically. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a joy for me too. On behalf of Mary, my wife and business partner, and the entire Imagine Miracles team, we want to wish you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleu.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 mind-awakening steps toward your unique purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleu.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.